The design has finally been chosen for the Lakeside Park Memorial to St. Catharines native and Rush drummer and lyricist Neil Peart. It's a stunning portrayal of Neil at different stages of his life and career. We are fortunate to connect right now with artist Morgan Macdonald, joining us from Newfoundland. Morgan, I've seen images of the work. I see what's sitting behind you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to have been a big Rush fan to come up with these intricate images.
Absolutely. I can't even remember when I've never heard of the band. I'm not really of the age group that would have grown up in the '70s and followed them from that time. Like I only really came of age, in mid '80s, and I get my love of music from my brothers, who are, they're really into guitar and heavy metal music but my older brother especially, his musical heroes were Rush. So, you can imagine, how your older brother, the impression that you look up to your brother, and you get your musical tastes from your cooler older brother that's playing the electric guitar. So, I can't remember a time when I've never known the band, and I think of all the times that he's played the album, moving pictures, and trying to learn a lot of the riffs on the guitar. So it really made an impression, and it's kind of an indelible mark on my psyche and just growing up. So you can imagine me, 5, 6, 7 years old, and this is what I hear in the house all day long with my brother growing up and going through school. So a lot of the artistic my temperament, I think from all the works that I've ever done in my career, I think it's kind of innately rubbed off on how I approach art and creating sculptures and fine art. So it's I just feel like this has kind of come full circle, and it's somewhat surreal to be working on a piece like this.
Morgan, I think a lot of people expected that this sculpture would end up with Neil sitting behind a drum kit, and yours most definitely does not depict that. Why did you choose these two stages of Neil's career?
Well, one of the challenges, and when I first started creating the design, that was, it's kind of the obvious thing that you would pick, because this is how everybody thinks of Neil and knows of his work. But I mean, like, the more I thought about this, and the more I attempted to do this, the more I realized this. Neil's kit is so complicated, it's so specific. I mean, each kit in of itself speaks to an age of his career. Whether it's the Slingerland kit or the Tama kit that everybody's familiar with out on the raft in the studio. So like it's almost like it speaks to each age of Neil going through his career. So to do one kit, and plus the complication of having a fully rendered bronze drum kit out in the elements. I think just the technical concerns, and plus just telling the narrative of Neil's story. I think it was more moving and poignant to try to incorporate the story of Neil's biography in a sense, in all the different elements, because as we know, Neil was not just a drummer. He was a poet, a lyricist, an avid motorcycle enthusiast. He was an avid reader, and so a lot of those elements, I thought it needed to speak to the entirety of his life and make reference to more than just the drumming, and not that he was just a drummer, because that's what we all know him for, and what we celebrate him for. But I think it just was a more moving story to tell, the complete elements of his life, and to try to capture that in a more succinct way.
You've really done that. I see certain details in there that really capture those different aspects of his life. Also, some sort of, I guess, I wouldn't say hidden things, but certain cues that do relate to his career with Rush, the owl from the Fly By Night album, the Clockwork Angels, the gears showing up as well. How did you choose which elements of the band's career to incorporate?
One of the most moving experiences I had was when I actually had a chance to go to Lakeside Park, and so there's this giant willow tree there next to the pavilion, and it reminds you so directly of the lyrics, willow, willows in the breeze, and when you go there, you it clicks, you get it, and so my imagination it started to turn, thinking about the experience of Neil as a young man, uh, you know, hanging out at the park, and you can think of Victoria Day, the fireworks and Midway, and so it was just an incredibly moving experience to know that you were in the place that Neil's from, and this is a place so directly connected, and in a roundabout way you're somehow contacting some of his spirit. I felt like somehow that story of him leaving St. Catharines and going out in the world and traveling throughout all the places that he's been, and you can imagine the grueling schedules that the band had to keep, and how many shows they played every night, and how much work that went into creating everything that they created. And so I thought, like, this is where it began. This is the beginning. So I pictured him as a young man going out into the world, and you can think of, like, okay, I have everything to prove. I have to, I want to be an artist, and I want to show the world that I have this creative spirit. So with the first piece, it's almost stripped bare of any kind of reference to the Rush material. So and as again, fans that are familiar with the band, they'll know the album Fly By Night, and so the owl is almost significant in that that's the moment that he becomes a member of the band. He never really lost the moniker of the new guy, even though they were on tour for decades. But I felt too that there's a in creating the monument, it's almost like a coming back home. He's returning to the place that he grew up, and he's filled with all this love and respect and adulation and accomplishments, and so I wanted to have all these things surrounding him, and how people, when they come to see this, and they're going to pay their respects, and so each element is it's almost like a chapter in his life, and the imagination is ignited between the spaces between the two pieces. So there's almost like a journey that you have to imagine that his career was, and as you come to the finished piece, all the references, whether it's Clockwork Angels, Presto, Signals, and and so on. So all these references are there, and and even like the song Spirit of Radio is referenced there with Permanent Waves, and so it's all built into the narrative. And so there's going to be almost like a journey of discovery for the fans, and trying to connect up, and trying to complete that as a full picture in telling his life story. So one of the things that I as I go along on this journey is I'd love to hear some of the stories and the elements that were meaningful and special to people that connected with Neil. So I think the more that kind of those elements are put into the piece, I think that's going to speak volumes and make the whole experience that much more moving.
Morgan, it's an incredible monument to a great man. Thank you for joining us today. Can't wait to see this completed project in a couple of years.
Thank you.